Joining me with more on security, given the sharp escalation between Jerusalem and Ramallah, former senior legal advisor to the IDF Legal Department, Lieutenant Colonel Reserves David Benjamin. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Lapid and Gantz and other officials are warning the Palestinian Authority that they need to control their territory and that Israel will not hesitate to attack any aggressor. But in this and several other cases this year, the PA and Fatah and the Fatah Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades are the aggressors. Why aren't Israel and Prime Minister Lapid being a little bit more direct about that?
Well, the fact of the matter is that the PA and Israel have a common interest. And in fact, I would say the interest is even stronger on the PA side. The arch enemy of the PA, or arch enemies, I should say, are Hamas and the Islamic Jihad organization. Israel is secondary when it comes to immediate threats. They know that Hamas are the ones who are going to throw them off the rooftops, or are going to send them scurrying across the fields. Okay, that's not a problem they're going to have with Israel. They know that deep down. They know that it's in their best interests to keep the security situation under control. Maybe from time to time, for internal political reasons, it can get out of hand. They can release sometimes. But I think at the end of the day, it's a very, very clear interest for them. And obviously, it's a clear interest for us. So I do think that at the end of the day, given that that's the paradigm that was agreed upon under Oslo, and we don't have any immediate intention, at least, to change that by dismantling the PA or somehow moving into the territories, that is the solution.
But Lieutenant Colonel, based off of what you've just described, it sounds like the Palestinian Authority has every reasonable reason to, for lack of a better word coming to mind, appease Israel in a sense, to keep the peace with Israel and to keep stability in the Palestinian Authority. But then what is Israel's incentive in not telling the PA in much stronger terms to do so? Because as we've seen over the last year, and you can check in Palestinian Media Watch and several other organizations, the Palestinian Authority is actively inciting to violence.
Well, certainly Israel has to make it very clear that what the Palestinian Authority doesn't do itself, then Israeli forces will have to accomplish themselves. And of course, that is happening in practice, unfortunately, right? It shouldn't be a day-to-day occurrence that IDF forces enter areas under Palestinian Authority control. But it has to be clear that that's going to happen if the PA doesn't, so to speak, get its act together. I don't think the PA has an interest in that happening. I think the PA's clear interest, rational interest, is to keep the situation under control. Again, rationality doesn't always dictate the order of the day in our part of the world, but that would be the logic.
All right, now another interesting thing is that the Fatah-led Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades is a United States-trained security service. And while funding has tapered off in recent years, the United States and the PA security forces do still maintain some ties and coordinations. Should Jerusalem be directing some of its ire towards Washington?
I don't think ire towards Washington, but I think we can certainly be asking Washington to come aboard to urge the PA again, to toe the line here and get its house in order. For sure, I think that there definitely would be scope for that. Maybe if the PA won't listen to us, maybe they'll listen to Washington.
All right, now all of this again leads me to a fairly fundamental question in a sense. Is Israel in any sense at war with entities in the Palestinian Authority? Is the PA, by virtue of their actions, at war with Israel? And based on that answer, how does that distinction define Israel's policy?
Okay, well, I think we are in a state of armed conflict. Maybe let's leave the word war aside because it confuses us. But from a legal point of view, it's the same thing. We are in a situation of a simmering armed conflict, certainly with Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Okay, that isn't the situation vis-a-vis the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinian Authority is kind of what's come to be known as a frenemy, that we have a common interest in keeping the peace. That situation, that definition of an armed conflict dictates what Israel can and cannot do in the military arena. And that's obviously the rules are very clear when it comes to Gaza. When missiles come out of Gaza, I think it's pretty clear we're in a militarized armed conflict, and that would dictate the rules. In Judea, Samaria, it's more complicated. For the most part, the IDF role is more law enforcement, more cooperating with the Palestinians. But of course, there are pockets in which armed conflict situations in a localized sense can arise. So it is quite complicated legally, but that's why we have so many lawyers today involved in analyzing this and advising the IDF on what's appropriate.
Well, so again, what should Israel's next move be? Because clearly telling the PA to get its house in order is not working.
Well, look, I don't think we have a choice. I think obviously if the PA doesn't act, we have to act, right? I understand now there are tens, if not hundreds of warnings, live warnings every day about potential terrorist attacks.
Right.
Obviously, we want the PA ideally to deal with those, but if they don't, Israel has to step in. I don't think it's an option. I think it's a necessity. Right. And hopefully the PA will come aboard, and we need to put as much diplomatic pressure on the PA as possible. Perhaps not only via Washington, but there are other actors, perhaps in the context of the Abraham Accords, who would like to see a stable situation in our area, where they could bring pressure on the PA to act as it should.
All right, Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much again for joining us.
Hi everyone, it's Emmanuel Kadosh. I wanted to invite you all to subscribe to ILTV Plus, where you can find our daily news and updates about Israel. And not only that, but live feeds, entertainment, our kosher food show, and so much more. Needless to say, your subscription to ILTV Plus helps us grow and create more content while also supporting the state of Israel. Our app is available on all platforms and devices, so I'll see you guys there.